Welcome everybody to the live stream of an incredible car. This is an auction which is really an unrepeatable moment in car auction history. We are here in the Mercedes-Benz Museum, and of course the car next to us is the W196 R Streamliner. And this car is an icon of motorsport history, and it's really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for somebody to acquire a car which has got an absolutely unique place in history. And I am joined here by three very important people all involved in bringing this car to market. I have Mr. Markus Breitschwert of Mercedes-Benz, and who heads up the whole of Mercedes-Benz Classic. I have Jason Van Sickle from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum, and they are of course the people who are generously putting this car up for sale, and we'll go into the reasons why that is happening. And also by Peter Warman, who is chairman of RM Sotheby's in Europe and the Middle East. So welcome, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you for joining on me at this important moment. So let's just talk a little bit generally. This is a sort of a question for all of you, I suppose. As I just said, this is probably one of the most important moments in car auction history, which is not over-egging the reality of what we're presenting here today. So let's just, from each of you, how does it feel to be here and be a part of this moment? Markus?
Well, I certainly have the privilege to be quite often in the company of our race cars, but I'm also very aware of the fact that probably nobody is in the room and nobody watches that live stream who will experience during their lifetimes a second auction like this. Because what we see here and what we auction off here is one of the most outstanding race cars ever built, the most beautiful for sure, technical marvel at its time, and driven by the chassis number 9, driven by the two most famous race drivers you can imagine, Juan Manuel Fangio and Sir Stirling. So what a moment.
Yeah. And for you, Jason?
It's a bit surreal, obviously. It's exciting. You can really feel the anticipation and the atmosphere rising as we get closer to the auction of this. It's great to see the car here in its homeland, being so far away at Indianapolis at the IMS Museum. So, we're really excited to see this. It will help the museum in the future really support our future goals, and obviously a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's very much a deja vu for us. I think Peter and Markus having been here a couple of years ago with the Uhlenhaut Coupe, but every moment like this is an honour and a privilege, and the excitement, as you say, Jason, building up to the sale itself is palpable in the room. And for us at RM Sotheby's, of course, the privilege of working both with Mercedes-Benz and now so closely with the Indianapolis Museum is well, it's magical, and the trust that you guys have put in us is very much appreciated, and I'm really excited about what's going to happen, as I'm sure everyone is in the room.
Well, and that takes us to a very good another question. I think that 3 years ago we were in this very room selling the Uhlenhaut Coupe, and I think at that point, nobody ever imagined that one of the two Uhlenhaut Coupes would ever be off sale. So that was a momentous occasion, and obviously a world record price. If you go back 3 years, Markus, did you think you'd be back here 3 years later offering one of these cars?
Well, I definitely knew that it will not be us offering such a car, because we did it in the case of the Uhlenhaut because we had, first of all, two of them, and they are wonderful and marvelous race cars, but they don't have a race history. Mm-hmm. So we could sell one, and we did it for a very good purpose, to help young people who have the talent, but maybe not all the resources to develop their technical skills in the field of decarbonization. Now being back here, basically 3 years after, but also 60 years after Mercedes-Benz has donated this very car to the Indianapolis Museum to honor another 50-year anniversary of a Mercedes-Benz victory in 1915, and to underline, to underpin the great American-German relations. That basically closes the circle, because it was a support between friends, and closing the relationship even farther. And here we are, and I would be very happy if the Indianapolis Museum could get really the boost for the next decades to come.
Yeah, well, and to you, Jason, I mean, can you just say a little bit more about the reason why the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum is selling actually not only this car, but a collection of very significant cars? There's obviously a very specific purpose behind that. So can you just speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is kind of wrapping up a long, detailed process that our board of directors and staff have gone through to really curate the collection to be more mission-driven, more mission-supportive to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the history that encompasses that. Obviously, we belabored a lot over this thought and idea, but really what these funds, with this car and then the other 10 cars that will be auctioned later this month, what it will do is allow us to really set ourselves apart, finance ourselves, set an endowment that will not only support the museum, support the direct care, so we can get more cars running that we have in our collection. We have about 180 vehicles in our collection to keep that running. The non-vehicle collection, support and conserve that, but also acquisitions to build upon our more curated, mission-driven support of IMS. So this is generational. It's really allows us to take those next 50 years and build the museum bigger and better.
Right. So the funds are. This is a really important part of your future planning and the future health and prosperity of the museum.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's great stuff. So Peter, you were obviously very involved in the sale of the Uhlenhaut Coupe 3 years ago. So can you speak a little bit on behalf of RM Sotheby's about how important and what a momentous opportunity this is for us as an auction house to be a part of this project?
Well, I think there are a lot of parallels. I mean, firstly, both cars designed by Rudolf Uhlenhaut, both share a very similar mechanical configuration. They're both icons of technical innovation from Mercedes-Benz, who were dominant in motorsport during the 1950s, and of course stopped motorsport for some very difficult reasons, but obviously that was a decision taken at the time. And what I find most interesting as an auction house, we talk about what we're selling in a car, and single ownership is something that's quite a strong point. People, it's important who's owned the car, who's been the custodian of that car. In the case of the Uhlenhaut Coupe, it was Mercedes-Benz from 1955. It was the first time it was being offered publicly for sale ever. I know that Mercedes-Benz had lots of expressed interest over the years, people wanting to buy that car, but they decided they wanted to go through a due process and bring it to the market in a fair, competitive way, and we fulfilled that objective very well, and likewise with the Indianapolis Museum. I mean, this car has never been offered for sale publicly. No Streamliner is in private hands. They're in museums, and this one has been in the museum since 1965. Prior to that, in the care of Mercedes-Benz. So effectively, it's the first time it's ever been sold. So there are lots of parallels, and for us as an auction house to have the privilege not only of working with some of the greatest collectors in the world, but the greatest institutions. And I think what we've seen over the years as RM Sotheby's is a development of those business-to-business relationships. And for us, that makes us work differently. It's very different working with Mercedes-Benz or working with a museum compared to working with a private individual owner. And, there's a learning curve for us, learning curve on both sides. But so far, it's gone very well. And as I said earlier, it's a privilege.
I mean, for anyone working in the collector car auction world, it doesn't get any better than this, does it?
No, I think that, the car speaks for itself. I mean, if only we could start it. I mean, the sound that we heard when we were driving the Uhlenhaut Coupe on Mercedes-Benz local test track, it's just phenomenal. No car sounds like that. I guess the only difference is the driver's in the middle. He's not quite as close to the exhaust pipe, so maybe, and he's wearing a crash helmet. But I gather the starting procedure, the driving and usability of this car, other than the fact that obviously it can't be used on the road, is very similar to the Uhlenhaut in terms of the driving dynamics and performance. So I'd love a go, wouldn't you?
I would love a go. Yeah, I don't think that opportunity is going to come my way. But Marcus, to that point, so I think, you know, we've had a period over the last decade where we've seen a huge amount of Mercedes-Benz domination in Formula One. And if you go back to the immediate pre-war period when we first saw the Silver Arrows appear, and then with the W196 in the mid-1950s, Mercedes has got this history of bringing very, very technologically advanced cars to the grid. And when they've done that, they've almost, without exception, enjoyed a period of dominance. The 196 was incredibly dominant over a couple of seasons. So what makes this car, either in streamlined form or in its open wheel form, what makes this such an effective racing car?
Well, I think it's a perfect incarnation of the spirit of the brand and the company. As you said, we are from the very beginning a competing company, a racing company. The first real motor race in the world, the Paris-Rouen, first place Daimler engine, second place Daimler engine, third place Daimler engine. The first Mercedes, a race car, defined and specified by Emil Jelinek and named after his daughter Mercedes. So this is our spirit and has been from the beginning: conceive, compete, compare, conceive, compete, compare. We do believe that racing helps you to create better technology. And this car at its time really combined a lot of never seen before stuff. It's lightweight. It is a kind of a grid frame, the chassis. It has a lightweight here streamliner body, and you could alternate and exchange against a classical monoposto body. The one used in the high-speed speed tracks and racetracks, and the other one on the street-like racetracks, which you had those days still. It has an 8-cylinder inline steel welded machine with a desmodrome forced control of the valves, which could at very high revolutions still control the whole engine work. You have a Bosch direct injection with 100 kilogram pressure on a cubicle. Nobody else had that at that time. And you sit very low. The center of gravity is incredibly close to the road. You have wide stands. The car is the top echelon of mechanical engineering. That's the sweetness of it and the risk. Because this car gives you the feeling, if you drive it, that you are a very good driver and you are Stirling yourself or Fangio yourself. And it goes to the physical limit before it leaves the road. But when it leaves the road, then physics actually would finish your opinion that you are a great driver. So these cars are really made for the true champions. And it took afterwards decades of developing assistance systems, electrical control systems, to come to the same control. What played into our cards that time was that the formula of Formula One was actually kind of published 2 years before it started. Everybody could prepare, and it was quite simple. So it said either 2.5 liter naturally aspirated or 0.75 liter charged. And then it said 1 seat in the middle. That was it. And so our engineers could come up with this idea of a streamliner body, which nobody else had. You know, a lot of people, also before the war, were researching and trying and testing in terms of really lowering the wind pressure and actually make cars quite sneaky and aerodynamic. Here, for the first time and most successfully, it was boiled down to a real race car, which makes it also, for my humble opinion, the most beautiful race car ever built, and forever.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned earlier the fact that this car could interchange quite
Yes.
easily between the streamlined body
Yeah.
and the open width. This chassis competed in both guises. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the chassis had the first race in Argentina, just almost on the day 60 years ago, 70 years ago, in 1955, 30th of January, Grand Prix de Buenos Aires. And this was a Formula 3 race. And Formula 3 races at that time were even, let's say, more riskful, because you could do things which otherwise were not allowed technically. So we had same kind of engine, but 3-liter engine instead of 2.5-liter engine, and freestanding wheels, so the monoposto chassis, because the road was quite curvy. And it was driven in 2 different kind of episodes by Fangio. And Fangio won the race, and that was the great start of the racing season 55.
And then, of course, Stirling Moss raced it at Monza with this bodywork.
Yeah, this is why everybody has called him, or called her actually, because she's Mercedes, has called her the Monza racer, because the last Formula race of the season was Monza. And also the last race for Mercedes-Benz to participate in for many decades. And Monza was a very funny racetrack at that time, around 10 kilometers, 1 lap. Half of it high-speed, purpose-built racetrack with bankings, and the other half road racing. So the company took a very Swabian, Southern German decision to be on the safe side. We've sent streamliner and freestanding monoposto chassis into the race. And Stirling Moss was the pilot here of this car. Started very well, then had very tough luck because a stone broke his windshield. He had to stop. That got exchanged, brought him back to the very end of the field. And then he had one of the most exciting hunt towards the lead, made it up to the 7th position, ran the fastest lap of the whole race. And then, because he was trying so hard, finally the engine broke and he was retired. And that was the extremely exciting end of the season. It was also part of Stirling's legacy to a certain degree, because people, you know, Fangio was to a certain degree on the racetrack more successful. He collected world championships, and Stirling had the, let's say, the more admirable, heroic experiences. So people like that. If somebody delivers an outstanding performance and then God's hand actually takes him back to a more modest place. And Stirling always was a person like this, to deal with that. and was talking a lot about this last race, which was also in terms of formula racing, his last race for Mercedes-Benz. So the Monza racer, Stirling Moss, very, very soft spot in our hearts.
And obviously, Jason, because of that incredible history, the fact that the museum has had this as a fairly central display for so many years. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, it's obviously, I think, probably been one of the star attractions there. So is it hard now for you guys to see it go?
Yeah, you know, it's been with the museum since 1965. There was a partnership and connection between Mercedes and longtime IMS owner Tony Holman, and he was a collector. And he had two museums, the Early Wills Museum and the IMS Museum, under the same umbrella. So over the years, whether it be in Terre Haute, Indiana, or Indianapolis, Indiana, this car has been on display. And we have obviously displayed it not only in the walls of the IMS Museum, but other locations across the states and major events, prestigious events, things like that. You know, it is a star of the museum collection, but, you know, as we are trying to curate that collection to be more mission-driven, the proceeds then will allow us to really fit that mold and set ourselves up for the future. So it's one of those things where obviously it's a beautiful car, it's a very historic car, it's just a little bit outside of our scope window. So we've been fortunate to be stewards of this vehicle for nearly 60 years. And it has been a great piece in the museum, but with this auction and the proceeds raised, it really will allow us, with this new museum we're opening on April 2nd, to be better in the future.
Okay, all right. And Peter, can you speak a little bit to around the market for cars like this, and you know, Grand Prix cars in particular, because we've enjoyed a very good track record in recent years of selling more contemporary Formula Ones very well, Formula One cars, and that's a fairly, that's been a trend, it's been a market trend, because if you go back 20 years, single-seater Grand Prix cars didn't enjoy the same strength and demand and command the same sort of values that they have in more recent years. So we've definitely seen that in the market, and so whether it's a Grand Prix car from 1955 or a Grand Prix car from 2015, it's definitely something that's on the rise, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think with motor cars, particularly racing cars, part of the appeal is the storytelling. It's about the beauty, it's about the brand, it's about performance, it's about usability and dynamics and all of those things. But it's also storytelling, and we've seen collectors change over the years in they're much more open. You know, collecting art has traditionally been, in some cases, quite academic, and you perhaps study it in your own environment and you have your expert advisors. But when it comes to cars, they're to be shared. You know, Mercedes-Benz over the years bring fantastic collections of cars to the Goodwood Revival, for example, and people can share and enjoy them. So if you're the owner or the future custodian of a motor car like this, and it's seen at Goodwood, whether you're driving it or not, you're sharing part of the DNA of today's successful race cars. You know, most recently Lewis Hamilton, of course, and we sold a 2013 Formula One car in Las Vegas a couple of years ago for over $18 million. You know, that car...
2023.
23, sorry, what did I say? Sorry, excuse me. In 2023 for over $18 million. And that just shows that people are buying into that modern history. It's televised, you can share it. But what I thought was really amazing about being here, offering this car in this environment, was last night. And we, Mercedes-Benz at the Classic Centre, hosted us and the guests that joined us to showcase this car and share stories. But we had the full lineup, you know, of Silver Arrows, from the W25 to the 125 to the W154, and then the 196 in single-seater body, short wheelbase, that had been driven by Moss. And then, of course, a lineup of more contemporary, modern-era Formula One cars. That's what's great about live auctions and working in this environment, because if you're coming and you want to learn, you can see the whole history and the comparables and the stories. And Marcus speaks very eloquently about what's created this car, what's created it from an engineering standpoint, but as a consumer, as a buyer of something like this, it's all about pedigree, storytelling, heritage, lineage, success, and I think it needs to be shared with future generations. If you collect anything, if you collect watches and you buy a modern piece, a lot of collectors then go deeper and deeper into that topic and subject and go further into the history. And it's very similar with motor cars. The opportunity with a motor car, though, is you can share it and everyone can enjoy it together.
And to that point, and the final thing to briefly touch on before we go to Sholto and the auction will actually get underway. This car hasn't run for many, many years, but it's been in your workshops for some weeks now. If the eventual buyer of this car wanted to get it up and running and be exactly as it was back in the 1950s, that's something that Mercedes can help them with?
Well, that's something we are the people to do, absolutely, because as said, since 139 years, that's what we are doing, and we take great pride in being available for the latest and for the first cars as well. We have had this car now for some months in our workshop. We did a very deep analysis and expertise, which we shared, and whoever will be the future owner, we will be up and ready to help to make this car drivable. And if the owner is fine with it, I would be right on the track and help it starting. Let me add one little point. I really do believe that this is the only time any of us sees such a car going here in an auction. Whoever buys it, whoever is the lucky bidder, in addition to be an owner, will be a custodian, but also will be a member of the close circle of the Mercedes-Benz family and is part of our inner circle. And I simply want to mention that you can trust also for the next 139 years, we will not let you down.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Marcus. Well, on that note, I think thank you for everyone at home who's tuned in to watch this discussion. I know you've really tuned in for the main event, which is to actually see the auction, and that will be beginning in just a couple of minutes' time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this historic single car auction held here in Stuttgart in partnership with Mercedes-Benz and their incredible team that have been truly supportive throughout this whole project. Here she is, the 1954 Mercedes-Benz W196 Streamliner. She needs little introduction, but suffice to say that it's simply one of the most important racing cars to ever be offered for public sale. It is a car which, of course, shares its DNA with the 300 SLR Uhlenhaut coupe, which sold in this very room, sat in this very spot for 135 million euros, the world record price for a motor car. The car offered today was driven by two of the world's greatest ever racing drivers, the great man Juan Manuel Fangio and, of course, Sir Stirling Moss, and was victorious at the 1955 Argentine Grand Prix in the hands of Fangio, and is the first Streamliner-bodied W196R ever offered for private ownership. Being one of 4 known complete examples, mounted with the exquisite factory-built enclosed Fender Streamliner coachwork that you can see here today, it is offered from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum from 60 years of fastidious care by them and their teams, and forms part of an iconic collection of cars to be offered via RM Sotheby's this year to support the museum's efforts to grow and care for its collection.
At Mercedes-Benz, the company's heritage is the single most important thing that underpins our brand. The company has built its reputation on a long history of engineering excellence, performance, innovation, and world-leading quality. Mercedes-Benz has developed some of the most innovative and dominant sports and Grand Prix cars ever created. In 1954 and 1955, in just these 2 years, the incredible W196 Grand Prix car brought Mercedes another period of dominance and glory. It was driven to victory at the 1955 Buenos Aires Grand Prix. One of those cars, the 1954 Mercedes-Benz W196R Streamliner, chassis number 9, the car was donated to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway by the Mercedes-Benz factory in 1965. The chassis is one of 4 known complete examples to feature the streamlined beachwork. It is incredible news that one of those unique cars will be offered for sale by RM Sotheby's on February 1st in a unique single car auction at the Mercedes-Benz Museum in Stuttgart. A few years ago, I had the unique opportunity to drive a W196R on the Silverstone racetrack, and it was an absolute privilege. I was blown away by the drivability and technology of back then. This car is a pure showcase of engineering innovation and excellence, and is an integral part of the ethos and DNA which still underpins everything we do at Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team. I believe this car is an unrepeatable opportunity for lucky collector to own one of the most important competition cars that Mercedes-Benz has ever produced.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wolf. I don't think we could have put it any better than that. And we just also want to let everyone know, and everyone watching at home, also offered from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum this coming Wednesday, in fact, is the 1964 Ferrari 250 LM, which is one of the Canetti Nart entries for the 65 running of the 24-hour Le Mans race. Martin Gregory and Jochen Rindt achieved overall victory, a feat not accomplished again by a Ferrari until 2023. The car would go on to race in 2 additional 24-hour of Le Mans events, and was 3-time entrants at the 24 Hours of Daytona. A true icon of motorsport and a hallowed piece of Ferrari, Le Mans and Nart history. And again, the team will be offering the remaining 9 remarkable cars. Do look at the RM Sotheby's website. That make up the remainder of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum collection will be offered in Miami at the wonderful Moda Miami event. I was there last year for the inaugural event. Please come along. It's absolutely spectacular. And we look forward to seeing those cars offered on the 27th of February. A busy month for the whole team. I'm duty bound to read our conditions of business for this sale. The sale is as is and where is. The final bid price does not include buyer's premium and any applicable taxes. Please note the buyer's premium for the W196 is 12% plus TVA on the first €250,000, and a 10% plus TVA will apply to the hammer price above €250,000. The lot is subject to temporary import restrictions and cannot be discharged from RM Sotheby's custody without the completion of customs procedures. And until full payment has been received, customs charges will be levied appropriately depending on the individual scenario and will be payable directly to the relevant authorities, which RM Sotheby's will provide the details when necessary. Please note, insurance is buyer's responsibility, and please note that the sale room notices and addenda supersede the catalogue description. My name is Sholto Gilbertson. I'm principal auctioneer for RM Sotheby's, and well, without further ado, this is the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Where should we start? Do we have 20 million euros? 20 million euros. Where's the bid? Thank you. 20 million I have. Immediately. Thank you now. 20 million euros. Any more bids at 20 million euros? 25 million now. There's two of you on it. At 25, 30 million. Seated here in Stuttgart at the Mercedes-Benz Museum. 30 million. Thank you, sir. I have your bid. 35 million euros. On the telephones on my right at 35 million euros. Against you now, sir. 35 I have. Would you like another, sir? 40 million euros now. At 40 million here, live in the room. Telephone bank is looking busy. At 40 million I have. Seated here at 40 million euros. The car is on sale, ladies and gentlemen. The car is on sale at 40 million euros. Any further bids at 40 million euros we have. Live here at the magnificent Mercedes-Benz Museum. As Mr. Toto Wolff said, an unrepeatable opportunity. I'm holding your bid, sir. You are owning it for a moment, sir. At 40 million euros. Any further bids? At 40 million euros, here in the room, ex-Fangio, ex-Moss, the Streamliner, at 40 million euros. Do we have a bid anywhere else now, ladies and gentlemen? At 40 million. Fair warning, I'm holding your bid at the moment, sir. At 40 million. Telephones. We're at 40 million now. Any further offers? 40 million euros. 42 million. New bidder. Against you, sir. Against you on the far phone. 42 million I have now. At 42 million. We'll keep in twos for you, sir. But we're at 42. The car is on sale. Make no mistake. We are selling the car. At 42 million I have. Would you like another bid, sir? We're at 40. 40. We have to do the best for the wonderful Indianapolis Motor Museum. 43 million we have. It all goes to a great cause. 43 million euros. The car is on sale. It's all on the phones. Thank you, sir. You're absolutely sure? Try 44? Well, thank you very much for all your support, and thank you for coming and visiting us and supporting us at today's sale. We're at 43 million. It's all on the phones, ladies and gentlemen. Any further interest in the room? It's gone quiet. At 43 million. With Shelby's bidder at 44 million. You're back in, sir. Thank you. You said no. Thank you very much. At 45 million. Don't let him get away with it, sir. At 45 million we have. Try one more. Try another one. We're at 45. You will miss it. Unrepeatable opportunity. We're at 45. Try one more for the road. You've come a long way. 46 million now. 46 million euros here in Stuttgart. Thank you, madam. 46 million euros against the phones, live here in the room. 46 million. We have the room all day. We can take our time. Marcus, have we got the room all day? I think we have. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. At 46 million euros. You will miss it. At 46 million euros. Selling all the way, ladies and gentlemen, at 46 million euros now. Take a good hard look at 46 million euros for the Streamliner, the only opportunity anyone will ever have to own a W196 Streamliner. At 46 million. Are we going to try another? It's live here, it's in the room, it's against the telephones, it's against Shelby. Should I take it Indianapolis Motor Museum? I think we should. 46.5. 46.5. 46.5 against you seated. At 46.5. Try 47, sir. We'll keep it in fives. Are you sure this time? You said that the last time. Are you absolutely sure? Have no regrets, sir. Take a long look. Have no regrets. For the sake of 500. Try one more, sir. You sure? You absolutely sure this time? You will miss it. You will miss it. Think of in the collection at 46.5. One more. Gentlemen? One more? No. You're sure? Well, thank you. At 46.5. Shelby's bidder now at 46.5. You're absolutely sure. I am going to call it. I'm going to call the car. At 46,500,000 euros. At 46,500,000 euros going for the first time. At 46,500,000 euros going for the second time. And ladies and gentlemen, at 46,500,000 euros, sold here in Stuttgart by RM Sotheby's going for the third and final time, the car is sold. 6128. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming. Thank you for watching at home. We look forward to hopefully seeing many of you in Paris. Come and support us. Come and support the Indianapolis Motor Museum. And we look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you so much. Thank you.